go again?
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the breach, dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews, connections in mind. John Wick Chapter 4 is the latest film in the John Wick franchise. It is once again directed by Chad Stahelski and again stars Keanu Reeves as John Wick, who, after the events of the previous film, has recuperated and is out for revenge, this time against the entirety of the High Table. And many people tell him this is a bad idea, as the High Table sends anything and everything, and anyone to go out and hunt Mr. Wick down. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of John Wick Chapter 4, as well as some other things. There will be, I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first and foremost, however, so just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review. But first and foremost, let's get into John Wick Chapter 4. Is it a good movie? Is it worth seeing in theaters? Is it a worthy continuation of this franchise? I would say yes to all the above because, as always, while I have said in the past that the previous three John Wick films were diminishing returns, but only just slightly, this one, it really does prove that rule because, my gosh, I mean, at this point, the cinematographers and DPs in particular are just, they're pretty much showing off at this point as to how many creative ways they can shoot action, how many different settings that they can put John Wick in order to shoot these action scenes in new and creative ways, and it just goes to show that this franchise has a lot of life when it comes to action scenes. It shows the rest of Hollywood, in my view, that yes, you can be creative with your action scenes, and they don't all have to be cookie cutter the way that a lot of action movies are nowadays. And really, what sets this movie apart, not only from the rest of the franchise, but also from the rest of action movies in particular these days, is not only the fact that, again, the action is spectacular, but this film also puts itself a step above the rest of the franchise in that it expands the lore of this world beyond just, saying that, oh, hey, there's this High Table and there's this little morsel of what the High Table can do, and oh, here's another little morsel of, oh, this other person who's on the High Table. No, we get expansion of the Continental lore as well. We get to see new characters in this universe who not only are just there to be like Mr. Wick nods towards and then promptly dispatches, but you get an expansion of their characters in meaningful ways to the story. And this film does that in spades, particularly with Donnie Yen's character, Kane. He is such a blast, and while I feel like he might be typecast a little bit in Hollywood spheres as, blind martial artist who's awesome at everything, see Rogue One as well, but, this is just a fantastic example of how to do a sequel that expands the lore, but also gives you everything that you were looking for. Probably to the point of excess at this point. And while, yes, the previous films also gave us, action to the point of excess as well, this one, I feel like this is probably the first film where they probably should have scaled it back just a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean probably a good 30 minutes worth, because this film is 2 hours and 40-some minutes long. It probably shouldn't have been longer than 2 hours 10 or 15 at this point, because there are some action scenes, particularly two in particular. One is in one of the Continentals. It's like an art gallery in the back of the hotel, and one near the end where John is fighting his way up a particularly long flight of stairs. And while particularly the stair scene is probably one of my favorite in the entire movie, the fight in the hotel in particular just goes to show that they probably should have cut some things out and just kept the pacing going along, because, like I said, I love me a good extended action set piece, especially one where you get fewer and fewer few cuts in between, or cuts that are so well hidden that the scene looks like it has fewer cuts than it actually does. That scene in particular, I mean, you get the usual John Wick dispatching a whole bunch of, generic, guys in tactical gear in creative ways. All right, he dispatched this wave, cool. All right, another wave comes in. All right, awesome. And then there's a big break. It's like, all right, we're going to move on to the next one. Oh, no, we're still going. All right, cool. We're going to get some more. And then dispatch another wave, another wave. All right, get another little break. And then we're going to, we're still going? Oh, okay. And then get another wave of guys, and then, all right, another break. Then, now Kane shows up. Oh, and then we're going to have another fight. It's like, that felt like they should have cut some of that away. And same thing with the stair scene. I feel like they probably could have cut down the number of waves of guys that John takes down. But overall, this film, again, maybe not a knock to this world, because if you're new to the John Wick franchise, you should know that realism has very little place in this universe. You already have, stretching realism with, you got, Kevlar micro mesh sewn into all the suits. That's how they can, absorb so many bullets. All right, you got that thing going. When you get to the point where, John Wick gets hit by a car, all right, he's down and he gets back up and keeps fighting. That's probably adrenaline. Gets hit a couple more times, see guys bouncing off of cars, and it's like, all right, how many, does getting hit by a car mean nothing in this universe at this point? Even though in previous movies we've seen getting hit by a car actually does, knock the wind out of him a bit and makes him slow down to some. Those are the kind of things that, like I said, this series is no stranger to giving us action to excess, but in this instance, they probably should have toned that down just a little bit. But overall, those are my main negatives of this movie. I mean, character-wise, if I was going to knock any character thing, I feel like we don't spend enough time with the new characters that we're adding so much more, especially in Osaka, where we get some new characters that are pretty awesome as well. And when we come back to John Wick, yes, John is the main character of this franchise, but I feel like we've seen all there is to see with John at this point. And the fact that they focus so much more on John's exploits and going with him, it's like, okay, we could have spent a little bit more time with these new characters, especially, again, Diane's Kane, and we also have a guy named Mr. Nobody who has a dog. And there's, again, we could have spent more time with that. And on the positive character front, we get what I think that John Wick Chapter 3 was probably, it succeeded, but this film has succeeded more in, and is giving us a villain that we love to hate. And when the inevitable happens, we get to see, we cheer them on, and that is in the Marquis de Gramont, and he is such a great villain. He is definitely the definition of smarmy and cocky and arrogant, and in such a way that I feel like we don't necessarily. We got a little bit of in John Wick Chapter 2, but we get even more of in this movie, and that's where I think this film shines in. Like I said, this probably is a little bit too long, and they probably could have cut down some of the action scenes, but really, this film does deliver on everything, and it does escalate in the ways that good sequels should. I will be curious to see how fan reaction is when it comes to the ending, because this ending, again, no spoilers, but it is definitely a crossroads in this franchise, and I'll be curious to see how fans react when future properties come up in this franchise, whether the audience will turn out for those the same way they have for the John Wick movies. But suffice to say, John Wick Chapter 4, it is a great action film. if you're willing to, if you're on board with it and you're willing to sit through the probably too long runtime, then I have two words that will bring joy to your heart, and that is Dragon's Breath. And if you haven't seen it yet, just imagine the possibilities with that. And if you have seen it, let me know what you thought of how that went down, because that was probably my favorite scene in the movie. I'll get more into that in the spoiler section, but first and foremost, if I was going to give John Wick Chapter 4 a letter grade, I would say this is a solid A. I can't quite give it an A+, because like I said, that runtime and that excessive, the excess going a little overboard, probably do drag this movie down just a touch for me, and that's why I can't give it that A+ score, but solid A. I would definitely recommend seeing this in a theater, especially with friends if you've been a fan of the John Wick franchise for this whole time, and you want to just soak in the glorious action on a big screen. Definitely go check that out. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on John Wick Chapter 4. Now let's get into some spoiler talk as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, I will say the trope of the villain of this a villain, setting our hero on a task and then behind their backs, calling in a contract or putting up some sort of obstacle to make sure that they don't actually get to fulfill that task is a trope that we've seen in a lot of movies. A couple that came to mind were Birds of Prey, the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, where you got Roman setting Harley out on the quest to get the diamond out of Cassandra Cain. But then he makes it an open contract so that all the other mercenaries are after the same thing. But the fact that the final task is meeting up for a duel, and the Marquis, making an open contract against John to make sure he doesn't actually attend that duel. Again, the fact that it's a duel, it just made me think of Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically, one of the earlier seasons, the Duelist Kingdom arc, when Bandit Keith steals the qualifying card that Joey needs in order to get into his duel with him. And when he finally does get to it, all right, then we have to go to the duel. Maybe that's just me, but again, the fact that it's a duel, that was the first thing that popped into my head. And secondly, we also have the tactics of the Marquis basically using a scorched earth policy, trying to smoke out John Wick, where he's basically he condemns the New York Continental and blows it up. Then he sends his men into the Osaka Continental and tears that place apart. And that just made me think of the movie Serenity, where we got the hunter going after Mal and the crew of the Serenity by smoking him out by basically killing off anyone who's helped Mal and his crew and trying to get him to get a face to face. That definitely brought to my mind that. And finally, as far as my favorite battle action scene of this entire movie, I alluded to it earlier with the Dragon's Breath, and that is when we get the debut I'm not sure. I guess it's a house or a church or something. It's not a church. I guess it's a apartment complex, a abandoned apartment complex in Paris, and we get like this top down view of the of these rooms as John is running around and shooting all these and battling all these various mercenaries who were trying to kill him, and we get these guys, they got their dragon's breath bullets that it's like you would think that one bullet would be enough to kill someone with his dragon breath, but John, again, with that overkill, he's shooting some of these guys 2 or 3 times with these dragon breath bullets before they go down. And first of all, that's fantastic, that's hilarious, but also the fact that it's top down, again, not so much the movie Clue, but it made me think of like just the Clue, the board game, and how maybe think that oh, it's like this guy met his end by John Wick in the kitchen with a dragon's breath bullets, or with a kitchen knife or something. That was just a a great example of how to creatively shoot action in such a way that it is engaging, it is entertaining, and it looks like pretty much nothing else that's out there right now. That was something that I really appreciated in this movie. Those are my main connections. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about is, the fact that John Wick Chapter 3, it kind of built up Lawrence Fishburne's character, the Bowery King, into something like he was going to play a major, major role in the next movie. The fact is that we only get him very briefly in the beginning to establish that he's been, nursing John back to health, or training him back to health and getting him ready for his vengeance. We see him briefly in the middle with him talking to Winston at the wreckage of the Continental. And then he gets a little bit at the end where, he gives him that special gun and gives him a boat ride to as close to Sakuraka as possible. That's pretty much it. And I feel like I thought that's kind of, maybe that's an expectation game on my part, but I feel like there probably should have been more, there may have been more footage in there that they could have, that they cut out. But I don't know, that feels like his part got, kind of got the shaft of a little bit on that. So like he could have been doing a lot more on that. Maybe, while John's facing, the waves of mercs in Paris, that, the Paris homeless community starts to take him on as well in order to ensure that that John makes it to Sakuraka before sunrise. That could have been awesome, but they didn't do that. So, again, maybe that's the expectation game on my part, but overall, I had a great time with this movie. What did you think of John Wick Chapter 4? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which will be for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which comes out at the end of this month. Be sure, and if you like this video or any other video on my channel, again, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching, but just remember, there is nothing new under the sun, and yes, you have seen it before.